Hello, everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about homestead severe weather preparedness. Many of us across the United States are in a zone that is predicted to have one of the worst polar vortexes that we've seen in a number of years. So we still have some time. What do you do to prepare for something like that? Well, first of all, for me, it's water because I have livestock. So, turn off any valves that you can that don't need water running all the time. In the house, I leave a faucet drippings to keep the lines open. I'll be filling and topping off all the tanks, and I have two heated tanks for my horses, and the other one is inside. It still freezes, but it's a 150-gallon tank, and so I just, add hot water to it to keep it from freezing, and that works pretty well because it is semi-insulated. I also have a heated RV hose that I put out so that should I need to get water to them, I can hook that up. And I actually roll my other hose on top of that so it stays warm and doesn't typically freeze because it reaches farther. I have had a year with broken water pipes out at the barn and then frozen hoses. And, when you have an animal that's drinking 16 gallons a day and you're toting that, the length of a football field, it wasn't fun. And I didn't have any kind of side by side or anything at the time. So I was, in a wheelbarrow with 4 or 6 gallons at a time, back and forth and back and forth. So, you learn to do what you can. I've tried also the electric warmers for the hose. So look at that. If you have a well house, put a light on in there. For when it's ultra cold, you might have to have two lights on or maybe a secondary heater. But again, if you've ever had your well house freeze, it's a nightmare. And then if you don't have power, I mean, the best way I've found to unfreeze those is with a blow dryer. But if you don't have power, that's not going to work. Blow dryers take so much energy that they don't even work very well off of a small, electrical generator. I have several electrical generators, and I will tell you, they work great. The first one I got, I would not advise anybody buying because it has lost considerable amount of power over the years. I got it to keep in my truck so that if I broke down, I could still get, charge my phone and stuff. And even when I didn't use it, when I plugged it back in, it was only at like two-thirds. But what I have found is they discharge power even if they're not being used. So I would plug them in and make sure that they're all charged fully. I got a different one from Greenworks that uses a their 80-volt battery, and that's what I use primarily. And it recharges pretty fast, and I can use the battery in a electric chainsaw I have and a couple other Greenworks things. So they make a 40 and 80-volt. You may want to look into them. They're pretty inexpensive, and because you can use the batteries for other things, I think that's not a bad investment. Um, and I'm in a hole where I live, so I don't get cell service. So if I lose my internet, I lose my ability to communicate with people. So I primarily use those for phone and internet. Um, the first year I moved here, I experienced an ice storm for the first time. We didn't have those in the Northwest or anywhere, even in Kansas. I never experienced one. So let me tell you, everything froze shut. I couldn't even get in my truck to, it was like an ice cube, sealed the door shut and everything. Because normally I would just get in my truck and turn it on and warm up and, charge my phone. And well, yeah, that was a no go. So I have since then made room for my vehicles inside so they're not out in the elements and, you know, fill up fuel, have extra fuel for your generators, if whether you use propane or diesel or gas, have those filled up. If you have smaller propane, make sure that they're filled. And I was alerted to something that I didn't really think about but made sense. Don't leave your propane tanks in your garage. Should they leak and you turn on your car, the combustion from your car engine and the fumes can ignite the propane tanks and they can blow up. So put them in a secure place outside, under cover away from the elements, but not in where you park your vehicles. Check your water spigots outside. Make sure that they're covered and insulated. Have an extra extension cord in case you, or two or three, in case you need to use a generator. Um, the good thing about cold is you don't particularly have to worry about your freezer if it's out in the garage or somewhere, but if it's in, or maybe even in the house because you might not be heating your whole house. What I've found is if power goes out and you have a wood stove, life goes on just like normal. But if you don't, it's much easier to heat a smaller portion of your house than it is the whole house. So a bedroom or, your living room and put blankets up to kind of shelter it off because it, once your house gets cold like that, it's really hard to get it heated back up. And like I have a propane heat pump, but it needs electricity to run. So I do have a generator now, but it's not a whole house generator. It's not like a Generac that does the whole thing and it just automatically kicks over. This is just a smaller one to keep key things going so that I don't freeze to death and lose all my food, that type of thing. Um, you know, Maybe get some salt for your steps or walkways if they get really icy. Um, I had a real problem again with that when I first moved in. The way that the roof and the steps off my porch were was they just accumulated snow and they got slicker than snot and it was awful. I have since put some of that indoor outdoor carpet, the really thin stuff. It's not real. It's easy to work with, and I just stapled it down to the deck and it does not get slick. And again, that doesn't sound like a big thing, but one of the biggest things that kills older people are broken hips. They fall, they break their hip, they get pneumonia, they die. Well, I'm an older person now, and so I got to think about these things. Make sure you have dog food, make sure you have food for yourself. If power goes out and the storm lasts, like they're saying, for a few days or longer, I try and be plan for power outages of like 2 weeks. So have candles, have flashlights, charge your batteries, have extension cords. Think about your water. Typically, these cold things, in my experience, water is your biggest deal because a broken pipe sucks. It really sucks, and I've been through a couple different kinds. One in a rental house where the pipe was outside. Don't ask me why it was, but it burst. And then, living out in the middle of nowhere with well pumps. When I first moved out, nobody told me about that. I'd always been on city water. Yeah, well, I learned real quick, and let me tell you, I have never had a pump house that didn't have some sort of heat source in it. Usually, like a 60-watt bulb is ample, and it stays on 24/7 all winter. But think about these things, okay? Especially if you're alone or your nearest neighbor isn't close. If you're older and you maybe don't ambulate as well, whatever the case may be, cover plants that are sensitive. I'm going to throw some straw over my elephant ears today before it really gets bad. Because I found they're just terribly hard to dig up. The root systems just get crazy, and you're supposed to dig them up. Ha ha. Not gonna happen. I found that out last year. It's like, yeah, no, you're staying. If you make it, you make it. You don't. But just putting some straw over them gave some insulation. Um, if you have horses, you might want to get them blankets if they don't have them. And I would spend the extra, the difference between a 600 denier and a 1200 is usually $20-$30. Spend the $20-$30 more for the 1200 because it doesn't rip as easily. And that blanket will last you, 4 or 5 years. And if you're only using it occasionally, longer. But if you get the cheaper ones, you might be lucky to get it a season depending on the horse. Now, like my little donkey, he does not put any wear and tear on his blanket whatsoever. My horse, he's not hard on it, but he likes to rub on things and he's torn them. And I've had horses in the past that I don't know what they do, but they get all discombobulated in them and can do a number on them pretty quick. Um, so just things to think about. Get ready. Now's the time to do it. Don't wait till the last minute when the stores are all out of things. I mean, you even have time probably to order off of Amazon if you need to, if that's how you do things. And so, um, pay attention, be aware, prepared, and keep your powder dry. So, um, care about y'all. I'm gonna do another video probably later, cooking some colorful plates, and it's just started to rain. That sunshine went away, and um, signs to come. Heavy winds are coming, so if you have a lot of loose stuff outside, you might want to put them away. Um, if you have doors and things that can freeze shut, like I have automatic gates, I will probably do something with them so that no matter what, I can open them because if the pin freezes shut, I can't get out. Um, so just think about some of those things and be prepared. Have extra grain and hay for your animals, and hopefully it doesn't happen. It's just a prediction. It doesn't mean it will, and we can pray it away. So take care. Love you. I'll see you here, there, in the air.